And so I like the challenge. People, that's the criticism. Fight someone in their prime who's a beast. I think people just want to see me lose. That's really what the message is behind it all.
Jake Paul's talking about fighting Gervonta Davis, who's 135 pounds. And then on the other hand, he's talking about fighting a 260 pound monster in Anthony Joshua. Listen, he's crazy enough to probably do it all if the money's right.
Just wanted to come in here and remind everybody that bum couldn't beat me when I basically had a broken hand. I had one hand and he still lost. Jake Paul, I'm still your daddy.
Did the entire boxing world just get flipped on its head, or were we all played? In one of the strangest moments in modern sports, a bombshell report claimed that former heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua was set to fight Jake Paul. The details were shockingly specific: this December, in Miami, live on Netflix. For Jake Paul, this would be the ultimate test he's been begging for, his chance at real legitimacy. For AJ, it was framed as a legacy-shaping, low-risk blockbuster that could change everything. The talking was done. The problem child had finally found a problem he likely couldn't solve.
Right, we mentioned earlier that Anthony Joshua still didn't have an opponent for his next fight, but he was thinking of still fighting before the end of the year. And we've got some breaking news for you now, because we're hearing that AJ is in talks with Jake Paul over a deal for a heavyweight fight in Miami next month. Of course, the YouTuber Paul has already fought the former heavyweight champion of the world, Mike Tyson, and beaten him. And he's now in talks with Anthony Joshua with a view to the two of them fighting in Miami next month. We'll keep you posted.
The chaos began when veteran journalist Mike Coppinger of Ring Magazine dropped the news. Not a rumor. Not a clickbait headline. A credible, detailed report stating that Joshua and Paul were finalizing a heavyweight fight. Dates, location, broadcaster, everything was there. And instantly, the combat sports world exploded.
Yeah, just broke the news here a couple of minutes ago that Jake Paul will be fighting Anthony Joshua next month in December in Miami. As we all know, Jake Paul was set to have an exhibition actually this Friday against Gervonta Davis in Miami on Netflix, and now he's going to fight, instead of having a fake fight, basically, I don't want to say fake fight, but an exhibition against 135 pounds, but now he's going to fight a heavyweight in a real fight, and it's a bout that was in talks earlier this year. And look, I know that it's a major business, but still got to give Jake Paul major props, right? He's fighting Anthony Joshua. We saw what Joshua did to the last non-world-class boxer he faced, which was Francis Ngannou, and flattened him in 2 rounds last year. So I think it's fascinating.
To understand how we even reached this point, you have to look at Jake Paul's situation. He suddenly found himself without an opponent after his highly promoted exhibition with Gervonta Tank Davis was abruptly cancelled. Now, Paul was left with a massive Netflix date, a booked venue, a full marketing machine, and no one to fight.
And so I like the challenge. People, that's the criticism. Fight someone in their prime who's a beast. I think people just want to see me lose. That's really what the message is behind it all. And Anthony Joshua is an insane fight, but I want that challenge. We've been DMing back and forth. He wants to make it happen. He called me up, and it's looking very likely for next year.
So he shot for the moon. He needed a gigantic name to save the event, and he went after the biggest, most shocking target he could, Anthony Joshua. It was an audacious move, but for a moment, it looked like it might actually happen. Names like Ryan Garcia and Francis Ngannou were thrown around, then quickly dismissed. But the Joshua rumor? That one came straight from one of the most reliable reporters in the sport, Coppinger, with specific facts. That made this more than just speculation.
Jake's trying to get anyone to fight now.
Yeah,
Francis Ngannou, Ryan Garcia, AJ.
We're hearing AJ again.
Yeah.
Maybe Eddie Hearn would have to, just admit defeat and say, fine, it happens on Netflix. But it's an absolute king's ransom.
It's yeah. Oh,
it's a king's ransom.
Yeah, it's, if I'm AJ, like I used to remember saying at the time, like, don't do it, it's rubbish, doesn't help your career. Ade, shut up. You're getting gifted 70, 80 million for a sparring session.
And it would do whatever views Tank Davis versus Jake Paul does, triple them for AJ.
It would do bigger than Canelo Crawford.
I know it would. It would do bigger than Canelo Crawford.
Yeah, I think it would do bigger than Canelo Crawford.
It would do much bigger.
Yeah, because every single man, woman, child over here will watch it. on
Everyone
Netflix.
over here would watch it. The fact that it's a heavyweight, it's not a lightweight.
Yeah, it's a
People in
fight he's
America would
supposed
be
to
like,
lose. Because everyone wants to see Jake Paul get chinned, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's ultimately
Yeah,
what we're going to
literally,
say.
that's what everyone wants to
So
see.
there'll be a queue of people queuing up with their Netflix account, just waiting to see if this big monster can chin him.
Yeah, I've spoken to Nikisa a few times on it. I mean, there's nothing to report to you that it's close or, there's a lot of hoops to jump through. Of course, AJ is exclusive to DAZN. We also work very closely with His Excellency, and although we have no contract with him, we're in talks for big fights next year, of course.
But the biggest question of all remained. Why would Anthony Joshua ever agree to this? This is a former unified heavyweight champion. A man who has fought the very best in sold-out stadiums across the globe. According to the early report, the answer was simple and calculated.
But we're not really interested in waiting until 2016. And we're certainly not basing our career around a potential fight with Jake Paul. But if we were offered it, why not? I mean, it would be such an easy night's work, and it would be massive. And Jake's smart. Look, I know that we have our back and forth. Jake's improving as a fighter, and you have to respect the fact that he's dedicated not just to the business, but also to the hard graft of boxing. I still don't think he's particularly good, but he's a decent, some level fighter. But he's crazy. At first, I always felt that Jake was just using these people's names. I think he's got that many people around him that I wouldn't be surprised if he thinks he's got a chance against Anthony Joshua. Jake, I watched him, Jake. You'll knock him out. Yeah. It's like, but, there's a difference between fighting Gervonta Davis, even Canelo Alvarez, and then fighting AJ. The other two you can get just humiliated and schooled and beaten up a little bit. The other one you can be fully decapitated in. So you've got to be careful and you've got to be smart. And I know you want the money, I know you want the big moments, but this ain't a game.
The fight would be a tune-up. AJ is coming off a crushing loss to Daniel Dubois and hasn't been in the ring since. Facing Jake Paul would be a low-risk way to shake off rust while earning an astronomical payday. In other words, an easy night and tens of millions of dollars.
Well, Anthony Joshua was talking about wanting warm-up fights before going into bigger fights, but look, it's prize fighting at the end of the day, and the way that Joshua will see it, and Matchroom and all the team, the fans won't like this, by the way. But
I don't like it
no,
either.
I don't like it either. But the way that Joshua will see it is as a money grab. He'll see it as an easy money grab, but at this stage of his career, is it a fight he should be taking? Nah, definitely not.
I don't want to see a man decapitated in Miami in a ring in December.
Listen, and that's what will happen.
14 months ago, he got beaten up by Daniel Dubois. He's been away from the ring for ages. Now he's stepping in against a YouTuber who's probably wouldn't even win a Southern area title. This affects his legacy.
The reaction was instant and brutal. Not just shock. Not just disbelief. Horror. Major outlets picked up the story and the response was unanimous. This was a mismatch of historic proportions.
It's just a gross mismatch.
Yeah.
Like, you don't understand his health is in jeopardy. So, I'm not even entertaining it. I just think it's dangerous. And listen, I might have to work it, but it's just...
It's kind of ludicrous, isn't it, really?
It's insane. This boy is nuts. Is nuts. And I think he's putting his life before he's putting his life before money.
Yeah, it's
putting money before his life, which is just absolutely insane.
TalkSport host Gareth A. Davies captured the mood perfectly, saying on air that he didn't want to see a decapitation. That one word became the theme. Fans across social media predicted a first-round AJ knockout and questioned whether Jake Paul understood the level of danger he was inviting.
I don't know if you've seen but this fight's in the works, Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. As a Brit, how do you evaluate?
I've just seen that. Someone just told me about that. That's mad. Fair play to Jake Paul, first of all, for taking it. But if AJ doesn't knock him out in like 1-2 rounds, then I feel like the fight must be fixed or something, because I'm going to Anthony Joshua, obviously, for the KO. So yeah, when is it, you know?
It's going to be next month they're working towards.
Oh yeah, sick. Yeah, I'm going AJ for the win.
Cheers.
But the shock quickly shifted into something darker, cynicism. Comment sections flooded with the same accusation. If this fight actually happens, it must be rigged. To many fans, there was simply no other explanation.
AJ took a year out. Easy fight for him. And I think this should be laid to rest because I don't think AJ's going to go in and try and pat. AJ's going to smoke him.
Could AJ finish this in a round if he wanted to?
Depends. We'll see. But I will say this to AJ. Don't let that guy knock you out because that will be fucking nightmares forever. But one or two. Put it this way, AJ has to kill him in 3 rounds.
That sentiment was echoed by someone who knows Jake Paul better than most, Tommy Fury. After beating Paul himself, Fury dropped a quote that shook the internet. "If it goes past 2 minutes of the first round, I'll take that as AJ being paid off." One sentence, and suddenly the entire rumor took on a much more sinister tone.
Just wanted to give a little opinion on everything I've been seeing on social media lately. Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. Just wanted to come in here and remind everybody that that bum couldn't beat me when I basically had a broken hand. I had one hand and he still lost. Jake Paul, I'm still your daddy, and everybody weighing this fight up, don't bother because he ain't worth a shilling. And the loss will always be there, Mr. Paul. Take it easy and have a good day.
Now the real fight isn't Joshua versus Paul, it's journalist versus promoter. Just as the internet went into meltdown, Anthony Joshua's promoter Eddie Hearn stepped in to shut everything down. Not with a subtle denial, he mocked the entire story. His response was blunt. "We have spoken a long time ago, but nothing close." And then the dagger. I doubt he would be so crazy. And just like that, a new mystery was born. Who's lying? Is the journalist wrong, or is the promoter doing damage control?
There's been some talk about possibly Joshua using Jake Paul as a tune-up to fight you. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about tune-up. I think Jake Paul knocks him out.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why so? What impresses you about Jake Paul?
I just think Jake Paul would knock AJ out. I think AJ's a spent force, and I think Jake Paul's on the rise. And I like his new heavyweight look. Bit chubby, bit bulky.
Now the real fight isn't Joshua versus Paul, it's journalist versus promoter. Mike Coppinger, a respected reporter, is essentially putting his reputation on the line. If he's wrong, his credibility takes a massive hit. On the other side is Eddie Hearn, a master promoter who could be trying to bury a story that leaked too early or one that was met with overwhelming public disgust before the deal was done. So who's telling the truth? In the end, this chaos surrounding a possible AJ versus Jake Paul fight reveals something bigger and more unsettling. Crossover circus fights aren't just happening, they're accelerating. The question isn't if these bizarre events will continue, it's how far they're willing to go. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss our latest uploads. And let us know your thoughts below. Was this real, or the biggest bluff of the year?